Okay, we're going to have a quick look at the assessment module in the Markbook. This is quite involved. It's one of the main sort of threads that are running right through the use of the Markbook, so it's a really good opportunity to explore in a little bit more detail the features that I've put into this program. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to select a class. We'll go to this Year 11 class and we'll pick one of the units that they've been studying. So let's suggest they've been studying bonding, structure and properties, and we're halfway through the unit, or we've done a significant chunk of the unit. So we want to assess a particular sort of strand of their learning. So let's go in and suggest we're going to state 3 types of bonding. Nice easy one for a level 3. Moving up with again a relatively simple one for 4. We can describe, so we'll keep this as mainly to do with giant covalent structures. So we're going to describe the structure, explain the structure and properties. Actually, we don't want to do metals, we'll do graphene and fullerenes, and then finally we'll round it off with this. So let's have a quick check of these tasks. Okay, that looks okay. Here we can just generate quickly the resources that we could use if we wanted to give students individual bits of paper to work on, labels to print out and whatnot. Generally I leave this just up on the interactive whiteboard and the students can progress through that in the unit. It saves a lot of printing, saves a lot of faffing about where students lose bits of paper. If I go in now, we were looking at bonding, structure and properties. So these are the resources that we've just made. So one would be a PDF that we could print out. So you could print that out in colour, on paper, hand that to the students. They could do that as homework. They could do that as a lesson independently, working on that with books. You could use it as an assessment. And it's a formative assessment, and it's getting them to recognise where they're strong within the units and obviously what they need to do to improve before an end of unit test or a main sort of milestone test. So we've just generated that just by clicking on those drop down boxes. Also, what I tend to use from time to time are labels that I can print out, and obviously it's the same information but we can just print them out as labels and stick in the students' books, and then they don't go missing and the students are focused. They know that when they see this label in the book, it's time to work the way through the levels. Anyway, let's go back up. So let's assume that the students have either got that in the books, they've got it in a piece of paper in front of them, but more usually they've got this on the interactive whiteboard and they are just working their way through. So they've done the assessment. Now you can either sit down with the students, you can get them to peer assess, self-assess, whatever. But we want to record their progress. We want to record what they know. So you could either do this individually, you could sit down, you could mark the books, you could look at the work that they do, and then you could simply just give them the marks for that particular piece of work. So we'll say that bullet bill, he's okay with that, he's okay with that, he's okay with that. But then he struggles to explain, which is obviously sort of moving into the higher ability skill. And then he hasn't got a clue there with that graphene and fullerenes question, maybe because he was absent or he just doesn't grasp the intricacies of it. Anyway, there we go, we've recorded bullet bill. Now we're on to the next student, and you just carry on recording the same information. Let's see, a little bit weak there, baby daisy. So we record all that information, that's great. What do we do with that? Well, again, we can go back to the Markbook, and we can see if we've got these sticky slips. These can be printed out onto sticky labels, and it's the students' work that they've just completed that we've assessed. So the student, tutor group, set, target grade, the grade they've actually attained for that piece of assessment. It tells them what they were able to do, so they're the green smiley faces, the amber warning where they're sort of straight faced, they're not too sure about that, they've got a little bit of insight, they're not too sure about it completely, and then this is something that they really they don't understand fully, so they don't understand at all, so that's what they need to target if they want to move up. And that's for all students. You could just print that out, stick that in the books. So that's really good. So the students have got a record of what they can do, how they can make progress and all of this business. So if we go back to the planner, there is another feature with all that data that we've recorded that we give to the students immediately, usually within the same lesson. More often than not, though, it's certainly by the next lesson. What do we do with that data? Well, we can keep all of that data and we can use it for tracking information. So if we pick that same class and we go in and we have a look at Bullet Bill and we have a look at the work that they've done. So we've only assessed the classwork in this unit. We haven't assessed the homework or the end of unit test. But they're the descriptors, the tasks or whatever that student can do. Overall, it's given us a classwork grade. That's what the student was a little bit woolly on, not fully confident, and then this was what the student he didn't have a clue about this whatsoever. It records all this information, so we could go to another unit and we can have a look at atomic structure. He was able to do the descriptions, the definitions, his calculations weren't too good, his word equations weren't too good, and then balanced symbol equations, again, no idea whatsoever. So we start to build up a pattern where we can see that the student, again, struggling with calculations. So as a teacher, you can identify if there's common themes running through their assessments from the individual units. It may be that the student is weak with maths, which suggests it is the case that with this student. It could be an English thing, they don't understand the questions, whatever. So you can use this information, you can use it to really sort of pinpoint areas where the students struggle on an individual basis. And because the students have got all this information in the books, we can keep a really good track, and the students can keep an eye on things that they need to improve, because if there's something that is hampering them regularly from unit to unit to unit, obviously that is an underlying issue that we can focus on, and hopefully then that will be able to help the students improve overall. So all of the assessments that they've done are recorded. End of unit tests, homeworks and whatever, we just give them a mark and then that will come up with an overall grade. Parents like to see graphical representations, as you know. So for this student, the way I present it to parents, we've got classwork in the red, homework in the red, and end of unit tests. And for this student, it would appear that the classwork and the homework are fairly closely linked, but the end of unit tests are a little bit better than the classwork and the homework. So that suggests to me that the student may be a little bit taking the foot off the gas a little bit with the classwork and the homeworks, but they see that the end of unit test is maybe a bit of a challenge, or maybe a little bit more important than the classwork and homework. So obviously this student may be coasting a little bit. So then it's up to us to try and squeeze out some information from the student and then try and help them make more progress. And it's the same, we could pick, let's pick another student, let's have a look how this student's performing, and we go along, and obviously there would be a threshold by the time we've combined the classwork, the homework and the end of unit test. If this student had a target of a 7, we would expect the student to be hitting hopefully 21 by the end of this, by within each unit. So there are things that we can look at. Another thing as well that the parents like to see, they like this idea of a flight path where a student's overall performance from year 7 right throughout year 8, 9, 10, 11 up to when they leave school, Again, major milestones within that sort of assessments for not just individual units, but maybe everything they've done in the autumn term, the spring term, the summer term, any end of year tests, and then certainly at key stage 4, when they start to split, we can record physics, chemistry and biology, and you can see from this student that the chemistry is absolutely rock solid. The flying in chemistry. Biology is okay, there's a little bit of a dip in the latest assessment. However, the physics, they seem to be struggling with the physics. So that may be an issue with the teacher, it may be an issue with the timetable, where the student is missing physics lessons regularly and they're unable to catch up, or that's up to us to get to the bottom of. So again, when we display this to students and to parents, it opens up doors where we can have fairly frank and robust conversations to pinpoint the issues that the student is facing, so then we can get to the bottom of it and allow us to help the students improve.